All right, this is my Arctic Fox 2026 990. Got this recently, been out camping a couple times, and you know how the factory stereos are. They're lousy in pretty much all RVs, so I usually upgrade all my stuff. I like a good sounding stereo, so this is some of the information on what needs to be done. This has 2 speakers on the outside, and there's 4 inside. And this is my documentary on. So I already started. I wanted to get a video of just while some things are opened up for most people. I know this is total chaos in here right now. So yeah, I have a factory Jensen, which has A, B, and C channels. Usually this is like your over the the cab over channel, and this is like your over the dinette, and this is outside. Well, this button didn't even work. Come to find out why, they bridged all the internal speakers. So you just trace the colors, which corresponds with over the dinette. So no wonder you can't fade it front to back. There's just a left and right, which actually turns on one speaker here and then one speaker there, and then right channels that speaker and that speaker. So that's kind of lame, but whatever, I can work with that. You're not going to be able to run new speaker wire in the ceiling through that foam. It's just, I mean, good luck with that. So you just kind of got to use it as it is. So in that case, when you hook up, 2 speakers on one speaker wire, you're gonna drop the impedance by half. So if you're running a 4 ohm, which is typical, your amp is going to see 2 ohms. So I mean, if you have a good amp, it shouldn't really matter as long as it's rated for 2 ohm load. Yeah, so these are amps I've had all this stereo stuff in my garage from different projects or from like boats and stuff. So man, I really try to figure out where to put an amp in here. There's dead space behind the factory head unit, which is in here, but it's still sealed. I didn't want to really cut this apart or open it up. So I'm like, all right, well, the TV covers that whole space when it's folded in, which is here. I took that off, and I'm going to utilize this upper area. So I've done some modifications. I've lowered this down all the way to the bottom to get a little bit more space up here. Still going to be a little bit tight, and I thought I was going to run 2 amps, but I actually last night laying in bed, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to buy a 5 channel because I'm going to run a sub. So that way 1 channel is the 4 interior speakers, and then another channel will be the outsides, which I haven't figured out the outside speakers yet, or like what I'm using. But so here's some stuff I had laying around. I have this Fusion head unit, which is pretty nice. That was from my boat that I sold. That's going to be replacing this guy. I'm making a custom faceplate that will mount to cover that hole because it's a little bit taller than that guy. Yeah. So, I mean, the one thing I did is I put lithium batteries in here right off the bat, and I actually have 560 amp hours. And if you don't know, let's see if I can. This is the battery box. It's sealed, which is nice. There's all the factory wiring. There's solar. There's the main power, 12-volt power to the fuse box. And I think there's a line to the generator, or a pair of lines. So I'm going to be adding another set of wires in there to run my amps. That's what I was doing last night, trying to figure this stuff out. So, excuse me, but yeah, this is what I had. It's way heavy duty, but this is welding cable. It's OFC. It's 1/0. You can run a lot of power with that. It's pretty heavy duty. So, man, I tried to run the amp wires down that wall, inside the wall. There's a gland underneath the sink that's at 90 degrees. So I cannot figure out how to get wires through there. So that was a no-go. So I decided I got to go up. So yeah. So if there's an access panel in here that gets you into this space, which is down and also behind that. So I took that off and I'm like now poking around. So now I have the wires, they're gonna go through the amp, through there, mounted up on that face. This is actually the factory speaker harness that I'm gonna be modifying. As you can see, there's 8 wires here. 4 of them are for 4 speakers on the inside, and the other 4 are for the 2 on the outside. The 2 on the outside are not bridged, but the ones on the inside are. So that's why there's 8. There should be actually more than this if you want to wire each speaker individually, which is the preferred method. But like I said, if you have a 2 ohm rated amp, you're fine. And then, you know, a little less channels to use, right? So, this is the factory plug. Let's see. I already cut this. These are the 4 internal speakers, and these are the 2 for exterior. So I'm not going to cut that down yet. I'm just going to leave that long until I figure out what I'm going to do. But these I'll be using for the interior speakers. And that is all balled up in here, and I pulled it up through the back where the head unit's going to go. So I pulled that up because I'm going to be running RCAs. So we got the RCAs pulled through, and those are coming out here. The amp's going to be mounted above this hole, and it'll be nice and tucked underneath. Everything will be clean when I'm done. So yeah, snaking the power wire is the hardest part, and then probably the subwoofer, which I'll get to. But the power wire is going to feed through here. I'm going to put a little notch in this access panel, which is no big deal. I did have to take the microwave out to figure out how to get wires behind there. I should have took a video before I pulled that out, but I did hole saw here. I put the sheath on this thing so it's a little bit cleaner when you open these cabinets. But yeah, 2 single lot welding cable, and it goes behind here up to the corner, which I'll show you here, and it comes down. I'm not really done tidying these wires up. It goes down there, and then it actually goes underneath and behind the stove, and I got it. Here's the other end of it. So now I'm going to be drilling a hole in this plastic box to feed these cables through, which will have battery lugs crimped on, and they will tie into my bus bars after I get those all mounted up. I'm probably going to redo all the wiring, or some of the wiring that connects to the batteries, just to beef that circuit up. I mean, I'm not running a whole bunch of amperage here, but you know what? Who knows what the future holds? So, so there's that. And then for subwoofer, yeah, I got the spice rack out. This thing torn apart. I mean, you got to have some bass, right? So here is the dinette. I thought about, you're not going to touch this drawer. We need storage. It's always hard to come by. I thought about putting a sub somewhere in this vicinity, firing, you know, the sub will be mounted through here into a box that'll be flush mounted here or glued or whatever, screwed. But I think I have a better idea just to keep that usable. I mean, you can get a higher output sub there, a ported box with like maybe an 8 or even a 10. I know an 8 would work well, plus if you build the box yourself, which I've done and have blueprints for. But there's just enough space here to run a thin sealed box. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I do have some stuff for that from my Lance that I never got installed. It's about the same width. You got like 5.5 inches here to work with, so it can be mounted to this surface, and it stays with a slide, so it's never an issue. So this never moves. This all moves together. It just goes in and out, and then the only time you really see it is when the slide is in. When you open the door, the slide's in. So when it goes, you're using this thing, the slide's always out, and this shouldn't be an issue. So that's where I'm at. I do have, you know, I wanted to use all the stuff I had in my garage without buying anything so far, but these are Polk Audio DB marine speakers. These sound pretty good. I've used these before. However, these are 6.5. That's what I had. And they don't fit in there due to the mounting diameter. And the depth is just like about the same size. So this ring I bought off Amazon for, I think it's like $12 for 4. a little big on the cutout as it moves around, but it'll work. So I'm going to paint these to match, like gray or black or something. And 4 of those will go on the ceiling. And these are legit. These are 100-watt RMS, and I really prefer sound quality over quantity, but we'll see what we can do. Anyways, this is just video 1 of where I'm at.